Welcome to the Entperprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet. Welcome to episode 118 of the Entperprise Excellence Podcast.
It is such a pleasure to have Julie Williams on the show with us today. Julie is the CEO of AG Solutions. Julie has been learning and applying the Ohno approach to excellence for many years. Julie is passionate about helping more organisations learn of these practices and help industry grow. Let's get into the episode. Julie, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I really appreciate you being on the show. Julie, what's your backstory? What led you down this path towards enterprise excellence and really getting involved in business and looking at the Ohno method?
It was a little over probably 15 years ago. Our family business, it was mum and dad and 3 or 4 staff at the time when I joined the company 20 years ago. And when we grew to around about 5 to 7 employees, I knew that I personally had no idea how to manufacture. And so I started to search outside of our business to copy or to get the ideas to implement those systems and practices in-house. Unfortunately, because we were a small company, maybe because I was a female leader and that sort of thing, I'm not quite sure, but the local businesses probably didn't have the time or the expertise or the knowledge to be able to help a small sort of up and coming business. So I then constantly searched. Fortunately, at the time, state government did a Pro Edge course, and I took I think my father and myself did that course up at Maryborough. And that's when we did sort of like the 5-day intensive of what was lean manufacturing. So from that, I just knew I wanted to put that and embed that into our company. We signed up to a certificate in competitive manufacturing. Bob Carter and the Improve Group, different consultants really helped there. And we had, I think it was 8 out of our 10 staff at the time all did the competitive manufacturing course over a 12-month period. So we had our office team, our production team, our maintenance team, etc., all involved. And it was critical that the leaders, so our family leadership, so I work with at that point in time, my mum and my dad was still part of the business, my brother, my husband, and obviously external sort of like other team members. And so we were all on that journey. After that period of time, I go from a lean office point of view, there's some great tips and hints and that sort of thing that really stuck. But I found that out in the production area, we weren't getting it to stick as much as I would like it unless I was driving those projects, etc. So then Bob Carter suggested that the Ohno organisation, they were doing tours to Japan. So he said, why don't I maybe go and attend? So then I took my dad over to Japan because I thought, okay, if we're going to do this, I definitely needed the buy-in of the directors of the company. And it was actually at that trip that my eyes were sort of opened up even more, because I'm sitting on a bus. We had 15 staff. The next smallest company was 400 employees, up to 20,000 employees. And I felt like this absolute sort of fraud of I'm at a family company, 15 employees in Australia. There was no one else. Oh, actually, there was another company from Australia there as well. But that's when I sort of got some insight, not only of Toyota, but it was probably some of the other companies that we were able to go and visit and understand and talk to their leadership team of how they implemented various tools and techniques and that sort of thing. So I remember being on the bus, actually. So it was Colin McLaughlin and June Nakamari, and they I went there looking of how to do 5S or how to do visual management, how to do Kanban cards or And I was really devastated for the first 3 days that no one was talking about 5S or no one was talking about these tools. And I'm going, I've spent all this money and all this time coming to Japan and they're not even going to talk about this. Like, I was like, and everyone on the bus was the same. We're all angry. And so then it took June time and Colin time to even educate us to go stop looking for the tools and start looking at the leadership mindset, start looking at what is happening on the shop floor, start looking at how, and to be honest, I still don't know how to look for that because it's the soft things of just going, what was the behaviors of the team to know that it was like really an effective organization sort of thing. So,
Julie, I love that description. I'd have to say that's one of the best comments I've ever had on the podcast, because so much of it is honed on those tools and techniques, and just that story you spoke about of being in Japan and not actually seeing the tools and techniques, but then getting tuned on some mindset and behaviors. That is gold.
So we went, did the first one, and then about, 5 years later, we actually had Joe Crowley, who had originally worked for Improve Group. He came and actually worked with us for around about 2 years as well, and he'd come from Fonterra. And his understanding in depthness of what it really is about, he would then train me even further. So then we went back and I was able to, the second time, look through his eyes. And so that's when I was like, oh, okay, it's so much. And then the questions that he asked was such a higher quality questions of what I should have asked and what I was then trying to look for. So from there, with the, I guess the approach that June Nakamari from our organisation and Colin, they actually got in contact with the guy, Sensei Yamada. So he was actually trained by Tahichi Ohno, or Tahichi Ohno shared a lot of his manuscripts or the whole philosophy of how he began it and why. And he asked Sensei Yamada to actually go out into all different industries and to do that. And so there's many different organizations, if people look, of who he actually helped. And he perfected it even further, but outside of the car manufacturing perspective. And I know that I believe he sort of like taught another 6 people. So one of those guys was Sensei Mirai, and we actually had the privilege of hosting him here in Australia. I think it was around about 5-6 years ago that I had June and also Sensei Mirai here. And we've done roadshows where they come to Gympie, but it was an intensive one day that people learned through doing, not just in a classroom. So did it here in Brisbane and Sydney and the Sunshine Coast. And that was just completely different compared to what I'd ever seen before. And even going into lean businesses in Parramatta, Sydney, which I walked in on those floors going, these are the most sophisticated. They've got 5 lean consultants that have worked with them for 20 years. What is Sensei like Mirai going to do in one day? And what was uncovered in one day was just something that people were just like, we've never seen that before. So I knew at that point, when the respect of other lean consultants here in Australia was just like, this is different, that I was like, okay, I want to keep on studying and learning this. So there's a couple of books that Colin and June have written with Sensei Mirai and now Yamada, it's called True Kaizen. You can see on their annual organisation and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely the philosophy that we want to follow here. So I guess it's as true to what Tahichi Ohno, started it out and has been developed by Yamada. June has actually been able to study and learn from Yamada directly as well. And so he's also been part of our company. A couple of years ago, they came out here for quite a few months to actually help instill some of those practices and systems. But it was more the mindset in the leadership sort of perspective. And a whole pile of different things that we've been doing.
That's awesome. So, Julie, from the day dot where you went with your father, got to know Bob and then went with your father over to Japan, I think that's such an amazing step. Like, I can imagine it would have been daunting being a smaller Australian company back then and then doing that. But, you've had that insight so early on in your journey about the whole piece of mindset and leadership mindset and approach. Like, Julie, what would you say is the key people that influence through that journey? Like, you've mentioned a few people, but what really stands out to you, those people that you'd recommend, hey, consider reaching out to this person or that person from someone that's influenced you?
Probably the one person over the time would be June Nakamari. Like, his insights of not like, they used to do like tours, Japanese tours for like sort of 10, 15 years, and they would have like 20 to 30 tours a year. And I think going to Japan and doing it and hosting those tours, they really got to, be in front of Yamada or other Japanese like leaders and that sort of thing. So they really understood. But then because June grew up in America, he was very westernized, so he was able to combine the two together. And so then when he's been working with, and he works with some really large organizations around the world, when he works with us, I've been finding that the companies, compared to other, like, lean consultants are amazing. Like, everyone helps to transform organizations. I think it just depends on the organizations if they're really willing to do it or not, and your leadership structure and your buy-in and that sort of thing. But with his, I've just found that the companies that we work together or we speak to and that sort of thing, it seems to be sticking, and they're getting really true transformational change where he can pull himself out and it keeps on going without him. So his intention is, how do you do it that it sticks? And then he leaves. And so then I hear about companies that he hasn't been there for like 2 to 3 years, yet they are still on their journey. And I was like, that's the company, because I don't want to just be tied into a person and I rely on that. Like, the company needs to evolve and your team needs to be searching and, improving it, sort of thing.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. And with it, what would you say are the key elements of that? The Ohno to Yamada Ohno to Yamada to Mirai to June.
Yeah.
What are those key insights that you've gained through the learning, particularly on making it stick and in a way not honing on those tools and techniques? What are the key factors there that you've learned through that journey to apply to your organization?
I think it starts with mindset, the leadership mindset sort of thing. So your senior leaders. So we need to actually lead by our own actions, and we need to be motivating the entire workforce for engagement and that sort of thing. So it's got to start with us, and we have to show up differently. There's sometimes things that I do as a leader that people don't respect or they don't want to value or they don't want to follow. So that started with us to start off with. Obviously, innovation is so important. So we're focusing on our clients and looking at how do we engage, how do we understand what they want from a customer's perspective, always, whether it's product, services, education, or partnering. Like, you've always got to be focused on your external customers, but also internal customers. Like, our team talks about internal customers, to making sure that we are delivering what they need as quickly as possible and identifying those problems along the way. You can use different tools and techniques to solve them, but constantly, relentlessly looking for that innovation. Obviously, you've got your management processes or your value streams and that sort of thing. So you're looking at your goals, but then you're also cascading them down throughout your company, sort of thing. Looking at developing your next leaders. So I always encourage my leaders to train a next group of leaders that are going to be better than them. And, don't have an ego to try and keep yourself in that role, but try and work through your own mindset and your own ego to go, I want to create a leader that is going to be better than me. I'm going to trust the organization that there's going to be another role for me within the business, but we need to then explore that further. So And then the other piece that we're currently working on, which is the really fun bit, is the technology piece with information. So it's like, how do we have the information as quickly as possible at the end of the fingertips of whenever a person goes, I wish I knew this, or I want to know this. And so having, I guess the best system that synchronizes across all different functions, so whether it's sales or marketing or your engineering or your product development, building that system that no matter who is in the organization at whatever role they are in, if they want to ask themselves a question, we're able to give them the ability to do that, or perhaps they're even able to create their own dashboards to be able to answer that question in order to, do innovation or make a decision to move forward, sort of thing. So there's a lot of systems that are manual to start off with to make it visual, but then we're also starting to put them all into computers and that sort of thing. It was interesting seeing Toyota. They have visual manual boards still. That it's not all in a computer. And so I think in Australia, we've got a lot of things wrong by putting it all in the computer.
Yeah, it loses transparency, doesn't it?
And the person on the shop floor or the person talking to the client, if they can't see that information, they have to make a phone call or wait for a leader or whatever. We've lost time. We cannot be competitive.
Yeah, that's neat, Julie. And I sort of captured, Julie, as you were talking through it. I love it too, some of the things you've said, and it pulls it together so well. Number one, leadership mindset, and really lead by action, lead by example, motivate, show up differently. In a way, I guess you're saying the leadership is that primary consultant, that primary piece leading the change, which is so cool. We were chatting a bit on that before the podcast. Number two, innovation in a client-centric way, both internal customers and external. That's cool. Yeah. Number three, ID problems and innovation opportunities, so that constant seeking. Number four, goals and the cascade, so that everyone's aligned to the goals and vision. And then number five, develop leaders in succession. Yeah, I love that one, Julie, because you see so many of these excellence journeys where they can die rapidly if you don't have succession. Yeah. And then information at the end of people's fingertips when they need it. Just made me think of Gwendolyn Galsworth with her piece of, what do I need to know? Yes. And can I just get that instantly? Yeah. Do you mind, Jill, if we explore a few of these, like leadership and mindset? What would you say is the critical behaviors the critical attitude or mindset and behavior that you see that really helps the leader actually lead this out to a sustainable direction? And ongoing, I should say.
There are so many things when it comes to that. And I think it depends on what phase of your leadership journey you're on. I know currently, I think because our business is stepping up another level, I actually have to step up and probably communicate in a different way compared to, because I'm not available to my team as much as I used to be. I believe... I wish I had the bang, 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 because it's not just one thing.
No, I really hear it depends on where you're at.
Even just a simple thing is do what you say you're going to do. It seems such a simple thing, but people lose respect if you don't turn up on time. If you just do those simple things, which is actually sometimes really hard as a leader because we are juggling so many different things. Growing and developing your team, seeing, I guess, the true potential of your team and going, how can we unlock that potential within our business? I know sometimes our business may not grow as fast or have the opportunities for people to explore that. I always say when I, interview new people, or, most people are in the door before I get to, do an induction and that sort of thing. They get to spend some time with me. I'm like, I want you to walk through that door and I want you to turn on your brain. We want a business that allows you to identify the problems, come up with solutions. I want you to do that. And I was like, I don't want you to ever stop seeing, because you're not game to tell somebody what you're identifying as those problems. But the biggest challenge is how do we create that environment that even if someone's here for 5 years, they haven't stopped being allowed to say whether things are okay or not. So it can be confronting as a leader. Sometimes you think that you've got it all together, and then your business moves on or your team changes, and you haven't got it right. So you have to then lead in a different way. And yeah.
It really sounds to me, Julie, what you're saying in a way is you've got to really understand where you're going, but also understand your employees and how do you do the right mindset and behaviors to help them grow, help them develop, help them achieve for the whole organization.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But it's interesting, because it is a different mindset, isn't it? From the mindset of, I want to go lean, I want to go on an excellence journey. Okay, I'm going to hire someone to do that for me, versus the mindset of, okay, so what do I need to do? What am I going to do to help that eventuate and evolve? That is a different mindset.
And I actually go, the businesses that are long-term getting the results is their leader said, I'm going to be part of this journey. I want to know, I want to learn, I want to grow. I'm going to get on the shop floor. I'm going to get wherever it needs to be, like constantly. And you might think your priority should be in strategy and in finance or market, like whatever those are, but it needs to be just as much, doing this, because you hear the problems, you can pivot. It's so powerful to do that. So yeah, I honestly, you need to engage external people to help, and you learn from them.
Yeah.
But if the top CEO and the top senior leaders are not like the first people to do it, often a lot of companies will start with the shop floor, will do the cert or do the training, and I'm going, no. Like, you can do that at the same time, but if your top leaders are not in that room learning and doing, I'm saying right now, I don't believe you'll get long-term growth. So I know some leaders might not like that and think that, it's not the right priority, but I swear the results that you will get and the understanding and the respect, I think, from your team by showing up that way will be tenfold.
Julie, that's really insightful. I think it's awesome. I often get told that learning from the Japanese is pointless. Japan has a different culture to ours. I respect this view, but know that Japanese organisations learn from Americans, such as Edward Deming and Peter Drucker. There is something to learn from any person or organisation doing and achieving great things. The key is to learn, reflect, and then improve in a way that is suitable for your organisation, your way of doing things. The Entperprise Excellence Podcast and community has established many ways you can learn ongoing. We are providing support through our community and direct with organisations to help them reflect, learn, and apply these areas of expertise in their own way. Go to enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com to connect and learn more. So the second one you mentioned was that whole customer-centric innovation, and both you mentioned internal and external customers. With that, it sounds like another mindset type piece that you're really bringing into culture to get that centricity of internal, external customers. Do you mind explaining that from what you've experienced?
So obviously, external clients, everyone is aware of that, and you're trying to, optimize that value stream or deliver the product or the service as quickly as possible, or customized, or the best customer journey, or like whatever the particular business is wanting to do. And you can identify, your wastes or the problems that happen, and you can solve those things. Often what I find is if we're not looking internally, sometimes it's our cross-team communication or lack of communication or the inability to problem solve across teams that actually impacts the external client experience. And so we've really probably flipped it to go, okay, what are we, you're still focusing, and we're always going, we're doing everything internally to focus on our external. But when people start to realize that, okay, well, what impact does my decision have on somebody else? Have I cross-checked that? Or they might create something but takes them less time, but it's created extra work for somebody else. So we're just constantly trying to do different things to enable teams to come in. Now, unfortunately, the last 2 years, our sales team, we have around about 9 people that live externally to us. And so we haven't been able to have the luxury of bringing them in quarterly. And so we've had to do things remotely, but I've also had brand new staff members join us. And so I really found it's been really difficult to get that to happen. So unless I was, saying this Zoom meeting is happening with these people and that sort of thing, we've probably lost our ability to improve the areas. But it's been so great since February to be able to be allowed to do that. And so, yeah, we're heavily trying to just work on those things internally.
Yeah, that's awesome. That human connection, you can't beat it. But I love the description of internal customers, getting that flow between teams, because it often can make or break, can't it, what happens throughout the whole organization. Julie, you mentioned number 3, was the ability for everyone to be able to identify problems and also innovation. And I guess a lot of the inertia you're against there is us becoming attuned to our environment and not seeing things anymore. What have you found has really helping the culture where we keep seeing problems, we keep finding ways to innovate and improve?
At different times, it's critical to probably have your daily huddles. Like different teams within our business are really strict with that, and then sometimes some teams have backed off. So it's the teams that really continue to be strict with those huddles, that they're identifying those problems of what's happened today or what's happened in that shift and how we're going to fix it for the next shift, sort of thing. And so that's definitely so critical to be able to do that. Obviously you can use different tools and that sort of thing to really try and work out what the root cause is. We've used even different escalation boards and that sort of thing, but I'm really trying to get the teams to identify their own problems and solve them. When it gets more difficult, you can spend more time to do different methodologies and things like that to solve it. But when in just a simple board of just having a whiteboard marker and then they're writing down numbers, and then are they solving it or not at that particular loose supplement plant or at the lick block plant or in the marketing team. So when I see that there's 700 solved problems in a year on a particular station, I'm going, that's working good. But then when I see another area that's only got 20, I'm going, well, we have forgotten how to see, or there's more training that needs to happen and that sort of thing. So now our team doesn't necessarily, they're solving things without even probably writing them up on the boards as well, which is fine. You can do different suggestions and rewards and recognition. So definitely people that have been here longer, and now even new people coming in, we just solve them. But I think getting back some structure is always important too, particularly for new people to go, okay, why are we doing this and how do we follow that?
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. I can really see that constancy, 701 station. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Julie, with I'm guessing that's where number 4 comes in, with that setting meaningful goals and aspirational goals and cascading them down. I'm guessing that connects to that, keeping that aspiration and that drive going forward to get better.
Yeah. And at different times, the goals are different. Obviously, there's always sales or net profit or new products or, innovation targets or, different departments have different areas, but you're always looking at what it is from the overall company and then into your teams, but then cross-team functions to see how it is. So whether you look at it from a quarterly basis and then monthly, and then we even have daily targets now for our sale, our income. So it's shared across our whole organization, that everybody on a daily basis is seeing, are we hitting today's target or not? And then what are we going to do about it in order to either hit the target by 4 o'clock today, or what are we going to do from a marketing or a customer service, or, get someone else to make a phone call to actually help that, or even the production team going, if we make an extra pallet, it's going to get on the truck so it won't get cancelled. And so just that was when June came a couple of years ago. He's you need to have daily targets. I was like, that's a little bit overkill, and maybe I'm sharing too much information and all of that sort of thing. But honestly, each person knows, like each one of our sales team knows whether they've hit their target or not. But then the whole team knows how they can support individuals, but then also as overall company.
Yeah, that's awesome, Julie. It's really impressive seeing that daily goal that's being targeted. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And often you see and hear that the shorter that interval of aspirational target, the more chance you got to adapt and get on track. That's awesome. Julie, the big one, number 5 was the big one for me that you mentioned, which is develop leaders in succession. Like that is something that I don't hear too often in conversations on the podcast or elsewhere, but I think myself, I've experienced it, how critical it is. Like what have you learned and seen in that regard of the importance of developing leaders' capability, but then also succession planning for leaders?
I just know it's probably where we are as a company. I think where we are like a small company, I've done pretty much every role, maybe not the production ones, but I've driven a forklift years and years ago. But I just probably naturally, because I had children, I knew I had to learn a role, but then I was going to get someone else to do the role better than me because I couldn't be there day in, day out for that particular area. And so just naturally I did that. And then I have found that I've created team members, they weren't necessarily even team leaders, that did that naturally. I have had different leaders in my role that maybe they've come from other corporate roles or whatever, where they want to keep their job and they want, whether it's a security thing or if they think that they teach somebody else or delegate too much, that I'm going to be an organization to go, I don't need you anymore. But as a growing organization, there is always high level decision making or different roles, or do like product development, and even can be cross team functions to lead that. But the art is, how do you get people to be comfortable to develop leaders that are going to be better than them? And I think that's what the Japanese have done very, very, very well. And I don't know in our Australian culture whether that's something that I think we're probably quite a tall poppy syndrome, that anyone that's a successful leader, you want to chop them down. But then I think a lot of people just try and hold on to their role, and then they're not, risk taking, they're not problem solving, they don't want to verbalize when things are not right or that sort of thing. And then we lose the ability to innovate within our companies if people are just playing it safe. So
yeah, that is such a good topic. That whole safety, humility, and openness to basically develop others and develop your succession for yourself, because it's so critical from what I've seen, Julie, in this regard, that I've seen excellence journeys just absolutely stall, not necessarily die, but absolutely stall through a number of leadership changes.
yeah.
And then potentially no leadership succession, so pull in someone from external. And maybe there's some behaviors there that aren't really that good. So then a few other leaders and people leave, and it can be a downward spiral so fast without rock solid succession planning in that open, trusting environment that you're talking about.
Yeah. Like I know my parents at times, because I've never led a company, like I did an education business degree, and other than that, I had no idea how to do business. But they've often at times thought another external CEO would be better or quicker or more experienced to do it. But I think with family companies, if there is a leader that wants to learn, wants to grow, wants to implement, wants to be challenged, it's like if we can support that leader in that place, I believe we're a stronger company because of that. We definitely can. Like, I think ideally is to be able to grow your leaders from within, but then you also can attract leaders in. But yeah, that culture piece of how do they come into, like, it's like the Ag Solutions way. Like, it takes time and energy, and they might want to do it their way as well. So it's combining everybody's sort of experience and expertise. But it's at this point in time, I get the fortunate position of learning and growing to be our best CEO sort of thing. And hopefully in time, there'll be people within or maybe somebody externally can come in and continue to lead, so that I can continue to do bigger projects within Ag Solutions. So yeah,
it's neat.
exciting.
Well, Julie, I really sense, and I've known of Ag Solutions and what you've done, and also in our conversation, you've got that culture of constant learning.
Yeah.
And, I think that's at the heart of it, isn't it? You can have the longest term employees and have amazing innovation if you've got constant learning.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. And that's really coming up in this episode. So thank you.
Yeah.
Julie, the one thing links to that is your point number 6 that you mentioned, which is having information at the fingertips of people that I mentioned that I reflected on Gwendolyn Galsworth teachings of asking employees, what do you need to know? What are the things you look for?
Yeah.
What are you finding with technology nowadays versus non-technology and trying to enable this so that people can just get what they need to know right when they need it?
Yeah. There is so much data and information around, which is incredible for our businesses to be able to make decisions or be aware of things. Probably the biggest issue is the connectivity between systems. Like they don't necessarily talk easily, or it takes time, or maybe one person is an expert in this, but someone else might be wanting to know information but don't even know within your own organizations where to find that. So we're constantly going, what's your frustrations? What's your wish list? What do you wish that you could find out? And how can we, do that within our system? But how do we have it connected so that, if 2 minutes or 3 minutes is too long. If a person has an idea of going, I wonder what that is, if they don't know where to go to find it in that minute, or if it takes, 2 weeks to pull a report out or whatever, next time they have that idea, they're not going to be maybe bothered to go and ask a person to be able to help. And so that was a really big thing of not only, you can do your process mapping or value stream mapping and eliminate waste and that sort of thing of movement of stock and people, but it's actually the information piece of how long does it take to find something, or long does it take to see that it's the hidden costs that is not visible that actually our businesses really need to look at. And so that's where June is really helping us with that technology piece of getting it all, and having the open API and that sort of thing, that anyone within the organization, if a sales team wants to know something with production, or customer service wants to know something with the R&D team, like obviously it's like working out what information needs to be made visible, but how do we do that faster and faster all the time?
And break down the barriers between those information silos. So that's neat. So Julie, I really appreciate the conversation on, leadership, number one, leadership mindset, and really leading by example, innovation, and with a client, internal and external customer focus, ID problems and innovate every day, goals and vision cascade, develop leaders in succession planning, and then have what people need to know, constantly improve to have what people need to know right at their fingertips. It's awesome. Julie, what would be your 2-minute enterprise excellence tip based on this area of learning that you've had by looking at the Ohno model and right the way through to June?
I think the biggest challenge, which it might be idealistic a little bit, but it's like I truly believe that people have been placed on this earth for such a short amount of time. But can we create an environment in our businesses that we are able to, unlock that true potential of what they're capable of doing? And sometimes they don't even know what that is. But it's like, if we can truly create that environment that people are learning and growing and contributing and feel like they're of value, and that we are going to have such thriving, growing businesses that it's going to be like amazing to turn up to work sort of thing. So for me, when I was challenged that and keeps questioning, and in the back of my head is just going, how do you unlock people's like true potential within your business or their purpose sort of thing? And it might not be doing the role that they're currently doing, but they've got a passion or expertise in another area that if we just pivoted them and gave them the opportunity to do that, we would be blown away. But sometimes we pigeonholed people in the wrong roles, or just didn't enable them or allow them to actually share, sort of thing. So, yeah, but it's the leaders. The leaders are the ones that are capable of having engaged, excited, passionate people, or disengaged people that want to leave or just can't be bothered to identify problems. But I truly believe, like, 99.9% of people that walk into our business in the very beginning are great people that want to make a great difference. And we just along the way as leaders don't show up the best way in order to truly allow them to do that. And that's a tough thing, because you can blame your employees, but it's not. If our culture and our teams are not working well, it's us as the leaders. We've got to do it.
That's a cracking leadership mindset, Julie. That's gold. I love the bit too. Like, if you think of it, each human's time on this planet is so short. It's yeah. Maybe we don't realize it when we're 20.
I know.
Or even 10. But that is awesome, that comment you made, that first piece.
Sometimes, like, our business is not the place that they can do that. And I've sometimes had conversations going, are you happy here? Like, what are you really excited about? Like, what do you want to do? And just even helping them transition to an organization to do that. I was like, that's what we should be doing as leaders. And so, yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. Julie, what's been a recent learning or a recent insight for you in your journey so far?
I don't even know. I was like, I've covered lots.
You have?
I don't know, just one insight.
A recent learning.
A recent learning is probably that my team is so far more capable of doing what, like, I could only dream of doing. I just have to show up differently in order for that to happen. I believe that I've been holding back my team and holding back the company, and I might blame other people at different times, but a personal, I guess, reflection and mindset that I need to change. So yeah, that's what I'm focusing on in order, hopefully I continue to do that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the next sort of 2 to 5 years at Ag Solutions takes us. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, Julie. That's awesome. Links to the whole 2-minute tip. How often is it? I've had that so many times in my life where you have this aha moment that connects to everything that you're driving for. It's continuous improvement, isn't it? I love it.
It is.
Well, Julie, how can people reach out to you or get in touch if they want to connect or know more, or maybe integrate in with June next time he's out and that type of thing?
I'm hoping now that the borders are open that June's going to be able to come to Australia. So whether he'll be here later this year or early next year, I definitely know it's going to be in the next 6 months. So previously in the past, when he comes, we open up our doors, people can come and learn, or we might do nighttime conferences and that sort of thing. So I think, Brad, we were maybe looking at doing something in Brisbane.
Yeah.
For the first time, obviously, he's only here for such a short amount of time, like for probably 1 week. So yeah, definitely happy to probably organise something for your clients or just people that are just generally passionate about lean. But yeah, if you my email is julie.williams@agsolutions.com.au, or just pop onto our website, agsolutions.com.au. And yeah, I'm always, open for people to come and have a look at what we do, or even just share and that sort of thing. I definitely am passionate about, lean or true Kaizen. I do believe that, for Ag Solutions, it's not only growing our company, but I really want to have it as an opportunity that people can come and see, like, our business and learn and model and go back and do it in your business. So that's definitely a focus of what we've always done, and happy to share insights. And I love getting in other people's businesses too. So I think if we can have that openness, I know that there's competitors and that sort of thing, but honestly, there's so many clients that need all of our help. I never see anyone as a direct competitor, because we're all doing our own things. So Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Julie, it's really great to see you focus on helping others experience what you experienced when you connected with Bob and then also connected to go to Japan.
Yeah.
You saw those leadership behaviors and those leadership mindsets in play, which helped influence you. And it's so cool that you're doing what you're doing to help others see and learn those mindsets also. So
Yeah.
Julie, thank you so much for everything you have done and everything you'll continue to do to help us create a better future. And thanks so much for being on the show with us today.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you. Hopefully somebody else has got some ideas or things that they can implement into their own business.
It's neat. Thanks, Julie. Bye for now.
See you later.
I often get told that learning from the Japanese is pointless. Japan has a different culture to ours. I respect this view, but know that Japanese organisations learn from Americans, such as Edward Stemming and Peter Drucker. There is something to learn from any person or organisation doing and achieving great things. The key is to learn, reflect, and then improve in a way that is suitable for your organisation, your way of doing things. The Enterprise Excellence Podcast and community has established many ways you can learn ongoing. We are providing support through our community and direct with organisations to help them reflect, learn and apply these areas of expertise in their own way. Go to enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com to connect and learn more. Please like, subscribe and share this podcast to help others learn and create a better future. There were two key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, the power of going and seeing to learn directly. Nothing beats walking the floor of an organisation that is doing something great. Seeing for yourself, talking to those that have already been through the journey, and then taking this knowledge and applying it in your way to help your organisation improve is amazing. Seeing is believing, as the saying goes. The second key takeaway for me is constancy. Julie and her team have been working on their excellence journey for many years. They've had their ups and their downs. The real learning for me is the fact that they have stuck with it, continued to learn, adapt in a way that suits them and will continue to into the future. The only way you fail in an excellence journey or transformation is if your people stop learning and adapting, if they give up and go back to old habits. Thanks again for your time and energy, Julie. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.